What is going on, everybody? It is Sean Daniel with Guitar Control, and today we're going to learn how to take open chords that you most likely already know and how to turn them into movable shapes that you can use to play almost any other chord you'll ever see. We're going to do a couple major chords and a minor chord, so you won't be out in the dark on certain chords like G sharp minor, F sharp major, C sharp major, minor, whatever. We got you covered. Make sure you click the link below because I'm going to have the original open chord kind of side by side with the chord chart in a different position on the neck, so you can maybe kind of make a little bit easier of a connection. So basically, what is an open chord? Let's start out, maybe one of the first chords you've ever learned was the E minor chord, right? All right, we've got the open E string, 2A, 2D, open G, open B, and open E, all right? Now, what makes that an open chord is because it's not just the notes that you're fretting. When I say fretting, the notes you're holding down with your fingers that make that chord. Some of the open strings are helping you make the chord. And a lot of times that gets overlooked. And one of the reasons it's really important is because once you learn how this works, you can start moving it around in a way that isn't going to sound bad if you maybe just try to move this without thinking about it a little bit more thoughtfully. So we're going to do E minor, C major, and G major. Okay? The people's chords, a great selection of three ones that we want to move anywhere you want to try to do this. All right? So again, we're going to start with this E minor chord. And all these chords are triads. That means they only have 3 different notes. So even though we're playing 6 strings in this E minor chord, we're playing an E. The second fret on the A string is a B. The second fret on the D string is an E. So we've got E, B, E, G, B, E. Okay? So, like I just demonstrated before, if you move this 1 fret higher, you move the second fret, this B note, and this E note. You move that to be a C and an F, but the other strings stay there. So, it doesn't always work. I mean, maybe you're going for that. If you're in some kind of post-metal dissonant band or something of that nature. But we want to make it so we can take an E minor chord and turn it into maybe like an F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, A minor, so on and so forth, okay? So what we have to really just realize is what we're doing here is we have a root note, it's fifth, another octave root note, and then it's minor third. Root note, minor third, and 5. You don't even have to think about that. It's helpful to know that kind of stuff, music theory-wise, chord building-wise, but we don't need that for the purpose of the lesson. I just want to mention it to kind of whet your appetite to get more into these chord building exercises that we talk about a lot, all right? So we're going to move this down 2 frets. 2 frets higher. So now I'm on the 4th fret of the A string and the 4th fret of the D string, but I'm going to use different fingers to play them. I'm going to use my ring finger for the 4th fret on the A string, and my pinky on the 4th fret of the D string, and on my pointer finger, since I moved this 2 frets higher, I've got to move this open G string 2 frets higher. So 2 frets higher than open is just the 2nd fret, all right? So now I've got 4A, 4D, and 2G. All right, now again, if we're just talking about the notes right here, I have a C sharp, an F sharp, and an A. Okay? Now, those 3 notes combined make an F sharp major or minor chord. So this note right here is my root note, even though I'm not playing it first. This has now become a movable shape. And as long as I don't strum the open strings, which honestly, some of these chords you can strum the open strings, and it'll sound kind of cool. Not technically just a minor chord, something you might want to experiment with and get creative. But if we just focus on the notes that you're fretting to strum, this will always give you a minor chord. And then you can just count it up through the neck, going through the notes of the musical alphabet. So E minor, F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, A minor, so on and so forth. Maybe if you've seen bar chord shapes, this shape will be tucked inside of like a fuller G minor shape. But technically, these are triad chords. You only need 3 of those notes to satisfy what is technically giving you a minor chord, all right? So that's the minor one. Let's talk about a couple major ones, an E string rooted major chord and an A string rooted major chord. So let's start with C. All right, and now when I say like an E string rooted major chord or an A string rooted major chord, what that means is where the lowest note in the chord that the chord is named from is going to exist. So on the 3rd fret of the A string on a C major chord, this is where my C note is, okay? So I've got a C, 3rd fret on the A string. The 2nd fret on the D string, D sharp, is an E. And then the open G string is a G. The 1st fret is an extra C. on the B string, B, C, and then the open E string is an extra E. So I've got a C, an E, and a G, another C, and another E. Again, when you're building chords, it doesn't matter how many of each, like the quantity, like I can have as many C's as I want, as many E's as I want, and as many G's as I want. It's the combination of those three notes that give you a C major chord. So this isn't the C major chord, it's a C major chord. It's one of many ways that you can combine a C, an E, and a G. But as you can kind of see, this third fret on the A string, the C, second fret on the D string, E, and open G, that's all I need to fulfill what I'm looking for in a major chord. So as long as I move this shape with my hand up and I compensate for that G string coming, then I'll have a major chord with whatever my root note is on the second fret, okay? Now again, if I just take the shape and move it up one fret higher, it sounds awful because the open string hasn't moved with us. So our next chord voicing that we're gonna use is gonna be the same thing, but we're gonna add, like if I go 2 frets higher from the C note, C, C sharp, D, now I have to go 2 frets higher on that G. 1, 2, okay? Now the way we're gonna play it, and the voicing I'm gonna spell out on the chord chart, is gonna be with your pinky first, on the 5th fret of the A string, ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string, pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. Okay, so this is a major chord where whatever note my pinky's on right now is gonna be the name of that major. So this is a D major chord, just a different voicing. So if you kind of hear it strummed, probably already know a D major voicing, but it sounds a little bit different. It has a little bit of a lower tone to it. It doesn't have the high end of this, which maybe that's something that you're looking for. If maybe like a singer you're playing with is singing this note, you might want a lower D major option to kind of let that singer kind of make some room for her in the sonic spectrum, him or her, whatever. So really, this is gonna be an A string rooted major chord that you can use anywhere. Now notice I'm using my pinky. You don't have to if your hands are big enough where you can play it like this. More power to you, because then it's really more like a C major shape that you're just kind of coming back for. But I think for a lot of people this can be a little bit of reach. And we want to get your pinky in the game anyways. So that's what we're doing, all right? Now, I want to talk about an E string rooted major chord. Everybody's favorite, G major. Now, again, we talked about the lowest note in the chord being like the root note on these, but I want to talk about how the relationship between the lowest string on your guitar and the highest string on your guitar. Now, they're both E strings, okay? So anytime you're playing a G on the low one, that same fret will be the same note, okay? It sounds stupid to talk about, but I mean, honestly, a lot of people don't realize that right away. This is the exact same note, so you can think of your root note being here, even though it's a higher note. Now, as far as making this a movable shape, again, we gotta worry about all these open strings that are ringing out. We gotta worry about them, okay? So we're gonna think of whatever note is on this high E string as our root note. So let's actually, let's do a C major chord, but in this voicing. So it's not gonna look anything like this C major chord, but it's gonna sound like this, okay? Now, what I did here is I found the C on the E string, which is the 8th fret, okay? Again, if you don't know this stuff right away, don't worry about it. Once you just start being more thoughtful about it, you just kind of get a knack for where these notes are and how to get to them. We've got other videos talking about this stuff that you might want to check out. But if we think about what's happening in the top of this G chord, again, my notes in this regular, kind of one of the first G chord voicings you learn is a G, a B, a D, an open G, an open B, and another G, okay? So if we just take the bottom 4 strings, D, G, B, G, that's all we really need. We don't even need the low part. Now, I think it sounds better with kind of the low end of it, but we don't need them. We're just worried about the bottom 4 strings. And if you notice, this is the 3rd fret from the open string set. So if I have the 8th fret and I want to make a chord off of whatever note this is, again, this is C, I want to make a C major chord, I just go 3 frets back and then bar them with my index finger. And bar chords are a lot easier if you're only doing the bottom 4. I think a lot of people's fingers kind of fit better on there before it gets to that little crux in your finger that is sometimes hard to kind of like power through in a bar chord. So this is going to be our other major voiced voice that we're going to learn today, okay? So here's our root note. Whatever this is going to be responsible for this chord. And again, it's on that chord sheet. The chord chart's on there. So this is C major. C, C sharp major, D major, D sharp major, E major, and it gives you such a different sound, like this E major in particular. Okay, that is such a different tone than this, but you can hear it's the same chord, but maybe it's in a way that you might not have ever explored before. And especially, I think even if you're looking to like, this isn't a video about like lead playing, but even if you're looking to maybe get more into doing solos and stuff, chord tones, playing individually notes within that chord, learning different chord voicings is a great way to find those chord tones. So maybe you're doing something in the key of E, and then you want to get to this spot right here. All these notes are going to be available in any kind of maybe solo or lead thing you want to do. So that's why I think learning movable chord voicings is an incredibly valuable thing to do, because not only are you kind of exploring parts of the guitar real estate-wise that you haven't even thought of before, perhaps, you're also kind of setting yourself up for the future of your own playing. If maybe you want to do some lead playing and thinking about playing individual notes throughout a different chord voicing. So hopefully you found that helpful. And again, if you have any feedback or anything else you want to see, let us know in the comments. Thanks a lot. So now that you've mastered how to move these open chord shapes around, don't stop. You're just getting started in really maximizing the potential of your fretboard. Definitely check out some of these other videos that we have from myself and other great instructors. And as always, let us know what you think and what you want to see more of. Thanks a lot.